having a candid conversation in the boneyard right now.
I know, it's kind of weird, eh? A little bit weird, but let's do it, man. Let's do it, man.
It feels right. There's something about it that feels right. Yeah, the phone's going off and just letting us know that we're live on 13 channels. So we're here with the BirdSong Foundation?
Yes.
Okay. There we go. Check out the website, birdsongfoundation.com. See, those cues are going to help it make it so much easier for me to plug the company. You can also go to BirdSong Foundation on Twitter at twitter.com/birdsong. And their Instagram is instagram.com/birdsongfund.
That's right.
Have a Facebook. That's BirdSong Fund. After the / of Facebook.com. This is awesome. This is awesome. So, DJ, we're in the boneyard, so this is you. This is all you.
Yeah. So, everybody already knows David, the Black, myself, Dr. Bonez. Introduce yourself.
Hi. My name is Margaret Konopatsky, and I was born in Toronto from a family of Polish immigrants. My parents were both war heroes from Warsaw Uprising. So I'm an old lady, first generation Canadian. And, you know, I was born a creative. I ended up growing up in Ottawa and then back to Toronto, and I had studied journalism at Carleton, got a job as a publicist in entertainment, everything from doing Juno Awards, publicity, to then CTV Network, handling lots of press for music and entertainment. And life was great. I married John Martin, who was the guy who ran Much Music, and he created the new music with J.D. Roberts and Jeannie Becker. So that goes way back, right?
So that earlier.
I've got tons and tons of stories, but that's a whole other show. This show is about why is birdsong exist and what is it? And it's an absolute joy that you invited me to talk about birdsong, but birdsong has been created from absolute devastation and tragedy. I was married to John, and he died of cancer, and then my son was born, David. His name was David. He was the apple of my eye, musician, Mensa smart. He always was like smartest kid in the room, right? But he couldn't do school. He just wanted the guitar in his space and wrote music from the time he was 5, and so this brilliant little kid developed mental health issues, and 30 years later, he ended his life. And that was 3 years ago. And I don't want to stick on that topic for too long because we'll lose all our viewers, because it's not about telling.
You are rising from the ashes of your tragedy and creating something better than what was before, right?
Well, it's kind of hard to describe how you feel when your child ends their life, and your only child, and it's just I couldn't breathe. And I have a home in Ottawa and in Arizona. I'm a U.S. resident. I ended up in the States to get treatment from Canada. They didn't have treatment centers, right?
Not here in Canada, for real?
Not for what my son was dealing with, substance use disorder, and it was always in and out of hospitals. And so he ended up in the States with me, and then life got good again, and we were going back and forth, and but unfortunately, the healthcare system in Canada, what they want to do is give you lots of injections of antipsychotics. And it's not that I'm antipsychotic drugs, because for some people who have like schizophrenia and all kinds of different mental health issues, those drugs are very helpful. So, but for my son, it didn't work, and nobody could help him, it seemed, and he ended his life. And so
before,
I couldn't breathe, right? I didn't know what to do.
Before he did that, you mentioned that's where the songbird comes from. He started that originally, right?
Well, what happened was I couldn't live in my house in Ottawa. I couldn't be around friends. I had to be in the wilderness, or I personally had what's called broken heart syndrome, which is like you have a stroke. It's such a trauma for you. And so I bought an RV and I parked it in the desert in Arizona, in the desert with my mountain bike. And I would just drive to the store and get food. And I lived there for a year in this trailer, trying to figure out my life. And every day these little birds would fly in, and these songbirds would sing these melodies that were like, not just like chirping sounds, but like 10, 20 different little snippets of music. And I started imagining that this was my son speaking to me. And I started phoning some of my friends who thought I had gone completely off the rails by then.
The birds are talking, right? Like,
the birds were,
see, right?
the birds were talking.
Hand, you know?
And I said, I'm going to start a national charity because there's not enough being done for musicians like my son. People that have mental health stuff going on, there's so much stigma attached to that. There are people that need to produce their music like my son. They need an opportunity to get in a studio to do what they love the most. And that was the thing with David. And I just know for myself, I started then listening to more and more music again. In that trailer, and then the whole idea of BirdSong Foundation was born. And from that point on, I created a board of directors. I moved back to Canada, and I started getting professional again, you know, and
focusing on something else now.
Eh? Like because like starting a business at my age, a national charity is a very ambitious project.
My age, we're so old. We're all we're all old.
You're only as old as you want to be, right?
Exactly. Like,
so here we are, and the exciting thing is that I didn't know if anyone would apply for a fund, so I'm basically financing this charity myself, and I can afford to do it for a while. I know money comes when it's supposed to.
Yeah.
I haven't started fundraising, and I won't until we launch the album. And the first album will come out in the fall.
Now, if you may I interrupt, you guys for your recording now. So now this is your first collaborated album with multi-artists supporting the mental health community, right? Or
it's a little different.
Okay.
These are artists. Okay, so what is BirdSong Foundation? It's a fund. If you live with mental illness, anything from substance use disorder, and you've been hospitalized, or you just or have depression that's right. Like it's gonna, it's bad, right? Then welcome to our club. It's called Living with Mental Health Issues. And in this world, it doesn't take a lot to put you in that category, unfortunately.
No, not anymore.
Then you can apply to the fund. You fill out an application, and then we give you money. You own the rights to the song. And what we do is we pick a recording studio somewhere in your, in your city. So most of the time it's Toronto.
I was thinking your home base was here. Now I understand. Okay,
it's Arizona, anywhere in Ottawa, Canada. So it's across Canada.
David and myself say we have a track together, which we might have a track together. We don't want to spill any tea here, but you would put us in touch with a studio within our area, say, because David's out of Welland, which makes it Niagara.
Right. And then, either that or we get you into Toronto, because once you start to work with a producer, and we'll introduce you to Brian later in the show.
Brian will be joining us later once we're all done. Here,
yeah, and that's his dog.
So we're getting a 2-for-1 deal today.
Yeah. But once you apply for the fund, we look at the application, and then we bring you in and we help you, mentor you in any way you need, everything from getting you registered with SOCAN, so you own your rights, so you start to understand.
You're almost teaching the artists how to do it themselves.
Yes, because we want you to own your music. We don't want oil
Yeah, you don't want 90% of their royalties on
No,
their
you don't
CD.
want what are they called? Snake skin oil
Yeah,
salesmen taking your
yeah, from back in the day or whatever, right?
like sign here,
Yeah.
and your name's Prince, right?
No, I
Sign
know.
over here, and they
Hold on.
take your money. No, we want you to feel the wonderful energy
You're
of
there
you.
for them.
Well, you wrote
Right.
the music.
No, right?
It's your stuff. We're a catalyst to make you rise.
Yeah.
And that's the hope, because I think that a musician who lives with a mental disorder
Well,
has
I know David will have a question right after I say this. Yeah. So I think almost all artists suffer from some kind of not delusion, but nowadays everything's classified as a mental illness. We know more stuff. Back in the day, like Jason was saying earlier about in the scenes, you were told you smash your hand, give a fuck, go back to work, right? Right? So go ahead, David. I kind of lost my train of thought.
What do you like? Do you find that a creative person is better involved with their art when it comes to dealing with any sort of psychological stressors?
What is the question? That
the artist,
like, do you find it's better for someone to involve themselves with when they're dealing with psychological stressors, or should they distance themselves from it and recollect?
Okay, that's a really interesting question, and I did work with recovery centers for years in the United States, and a therapist or a psychiatrist would have one answer for you. I have many answers. Okay, so here's my answer. If you're living with mental health issues, and they're really severe, you're delusional, and you know that you need help, but the society has so much stigma that you don't ask for help because you're not even allowed to talk about it.
Kind of what I was saying.
Then what you do is you reach out to the Boneyard, you reach out to people that get it, you reach out to BirdSong, you reach out to your friends. Sometimes a therapist is a friend, like someone that can really actually listen to what you have to say. And sometimes you do need hospitalization and you do need therapy. And is that a time for you to really invest in your art when you're having a psychotic breakdown? Probably not. So I would say it depends on the severity of your illness, right? But the thing is to understand that mental illness is not different than physical illness or spiritual illness, right? It's it's called balance. So if you're kind of out of whack in that balance department, but try to grab an instrument, try to grab a guitar, even when you're out there, it's like a toolkit, right? One of the biggest toolkit for me with mental health, I know for my son, because I witnessed him for 30 years. Music. Just get the headset on, right? And listen to chant music, like you're having or someone with schizophrenia and they're having an evil kind of, somebody's after them. Light a candle. Just inhale,
right?
Exhale. Maybe heavy metal isn't what you're going to listen to right there, but you may listen to something that's really just beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful angel music, and bring yourself back to a stable place and then move through it. Does that answer your question?
That actually gives me so much to digest, and I appreciate it because I deal with people, I deal with my own personal issues, and it's just I want to get a different vantage because because it just of the way things can be from time to time. And you're right, there are a lot of stigmas associated with discussing mental health concerns, especially as men, and you know what I mean? So to have that issue and not feel like you have an outlet, it's complicating because on one side people are saying talk about your issues, but on the other side, not everybody is open to receiving them as you discuss them, or the term "man up" comes to phrase. So
yeah.
Growing up, it was always work. You go to work no matter what. And even when I said I had these problems, it was, well, go to fucking work. You know, it was no different than if I broke my hand that day. Oh, we'll finish the day and come back tomorrow and we'll see what we can make. You know, I got a broken hand, but they're still making very shit. I'm still working. Like, but why? Why am I pushing so hard to get?
Well, that's the thing about BirdSong Foundation was like, I believe my son would still be alive today. He would not have ended his life if he had people that he could call and say, listen, I'm really, really messed up. Could you come over? Or can you just leave your phone on and I can talk to you?
Mm-hmm.
He had his mom always forever, you know, and I was there. I spoke to him every single day, but it's the man up thing, right? And exactly what you're talking about. If the last person in your corner is mommy, right? It's not enough. The society has to change. Something's got to give.
Something. That will. How do I say this properly without being kind of non-sympathetic, but being sympathetic at the same time? You have to go on. You can't stop though. Whether say you break your hand or like myself, hearing voices in the background and shit.
Yeah.
And trying to find that balance. But I don't know, my family being from the South, a lot of my growing up was, my papa was in the war. He went to war. No matter what you complained about, I was at sea 28 months, never came home. You know, go to work, bud. Don't worry about those voices. Yeah. You know what I mean? Or you got whipped because you listened to the voices, or there was never a place like you said, either not so much the boneyard, but bird songs, right? Like there was nowhere to go for that back in the day.
And then it's the lyrics, right? Like here, oh my God, I just have to talk about lyrics, right? Like, okay, so
it is a music show. We should kind of cover the music and stuff. So.
Oh my God, right? Like some people, you know, yes, let's understand for sure. I think it's safe to say that most creative people struggle with mental health issues. Yes, I think so. But then what, right? So you don't hang into that. You just get a pen, right? Start writing like poetry, words. Just write the word over and over again. Turn it into a heavy metal song.
Buy a fucking keyboard from Walmart.
It doesn't matter.
Until the other
you don't even need to know how to play yet, right? BirdSong eventually wants to give out free music lessons, right? We're on the internet. Why not hand out guitars? And through the boneyard, you know, like we start to mentor a group of musicians that just like are the backup even.
Mm-hmm.
But music or writing, like the lyrics of the songs that 9 of the BirdSong performers that we now have identified. So we've got 9 people who live.
Are you
with
able
mental
to give
illness.
shout outs to these artists right now? Can you say their name and stuff?
Oh yeah,
go ahead. Give these guys some credit.
The names: Al Kinney, who is from Ottawa. Matthew Johnson is from Ottawa. Both have schizophrenia, and they're going to tell you all about it. You know.
In the new up and coming album.
Absolutely, the new up and coming album. Robin Benedict from Hamilton. We have Ashley Bell from outside of Toronto. Jordan Gao from Canada, Ontario. We have Canada.
Where is Canada, Ontario?
We're just outside of Ottawa.
45 minutes just going to the 401 on your way to Toronto, you hit Canada. little suburb of Ottawa.
My aunt used to live out there.
Oh my God, we have a guy who's now in Barrie who was from Cape Breton Island, and he fell from scaffolding and broke many bones in his body. Yes, you do struggle with depression and anxiety and mental health issues when you've had 9 surgeries and one of your arms is like not working as well. And then you get arrested for having marijuana because he started smoking marijuana to help with his pain. He was arrested and put in prison. You know, I mean, like these stories, yeah, like it's just crazy stories, right?
So
he's working on a song right now. He's writing for BirdSong, and he's living in Barrie.
Oh, wow.
So and yeah,
we'll have to definitely sit down and talk.
Absolutely. So
right.
No, 100%.
So should we bring Bryant in and to some of the different music genres that we're
it's up to you, unless you have you want some more to cover, or do you have any more questions? And then we have a double header apparently. So
okay, so I guess I wanted to ask, it's like, what advice would you give to someone who was struggling with dealing with their psychology, we'll say?
Their mental state, I guess.
Okay,
right? Mental state, yes.
The most important thing that you need to remember is that you're not alone in the world, and we need you. Like when I say we, it's not just your parents that need you and your siblings, if you have any, and your friends. It's the world needs you. You have this gift called life, which you technically know about, and you don't need a lecture from BirdSong Foundation. But you need to know that this is what you do. You put your left heart on your heart and just breathe self-love into your body. Like just inhale and just sit there and breathe self-love into the universe. And just realize that you have the power to write something profound that will help someone else. So sometimes reaching out to other people when you're absolutely broken is the solution, I think, to staying here on this planet. To know that your life it's not just for you, it's for me, it's for us, we're together. The separation kills us all, right?
Yeah, well,
this
as we
fear-mongering bullshit going on, right?
David and them have heard me say it, you pick a fucking team and you fight to the death for it for some reason, no matter what. Whether you're right or wrong, you pick that team, and that's not how we should look at things. Whether I'm on the left or the right, I agree with both sides on certain things, right? But I don't agree with both sides on the same hand. Like fucking, I like this option, I like that option. Why can't we just bring that and make it all one big thing?
We need you. That's we need you. But like, for example, suicide happens, another topic you never talk about. Well, no, we have to talk about it, right? Because a lot of people think about it.
Oh, especially in the music industry. Look how many great musicians we have lost because of that, whether it's intentional or unintentional. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a guy by the name of Daniel Victor who's a great friend of BirdSong Foundation, and he had a band called Never Ending White Light. And he was huge. He went platinum in the US. He's just a prolific writer. And he has a lot of mental health issues. He's writing a book about what helps him. But he explained suicide to me. And he told me, he said that I really have to come to terms with my son's decision. Because it wasn't like he was trying to hurt me or anybody else. It's like, it's not about that. It's about like, just that suicide. It's like sometimes it's a moment, there's that moment, and when you're thinking about that moment, then just pick up the phone to us, pick up the phone to anyone that loves you, because sometimes they're not calling you, but they're there. Look at the animal, right? The animal's barking right behind me. He's already, the animal
better than people in general.
Exactly.
Right.
The animal senses, and here's the other piece that keeps me here. I just stay here today, maybe not tomorrow, just today, one day at a time.
Well, even trying to get a hold of you and line up, say, the interview. Today was the day. Right? It was happening today, and that was it. Right? Like, there was
just live one day at a time. Just today, write a song. Just today.
Do that today, and figure something out tomorrow.
Tomorrow's another day. Just live today.
Be here today. No, 100%, right?
Yeah. So
Do you have
Brian,
any questions
let's introduce you.
Hey,
Okay, this is Brian.
Brian.
This is Brian Didier.
Hey,
He's a producer for himself. He runs a evolutionary music cooperative. You know what? I'm
gonna bring a chair.
we're gonna bring a chair.
Yeah,
okay.
we can all fit in here.
Okay. Why is Brian Didier important? Okay.
And Didier is how you
Didier. I'm sorry,
okay,
French.
Yeah.
It's a French name. Okay. So I'm gonna pass the story over to Brian because his story is short and sweet of 40 years, right? How do you say that in about 2 sentences?
40 years.
And how does that help musicians? Because listen, the bars are shut down, right?
Yeah.
The musicians are sitting at home playing music on the internet.
Play together.
What is the future of music, and how do you harness the power of owning your own product? How do you make a living now? Okay, so we're going to figure this out really quickly. So we'll put some cash in your pocket if you talk to Brian, and he'll tell you how to do that through a cooperative music venture. Here we go.
All right.
And then we'll talk about BirdSong too.
Of course.
You can sit there if you want. Okay, so
you want to sit here and I'll sit there? Just swing to the side there. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
That's good. Yeah.
We are 18 plus, but
He did.
Nice to meet you.
Hello.
And
introduce yourself and kind of give us a little explanation of what we're doing here in your studio.
okay, well, we're here because of Maggie, who hired me to produce some music for some of the artists that are under the banner of BirdSong. And we have a very similar sort of mindset about the healing power of music and how, and I know through the years, I've experienced a lot of that working with artists. Many artists have mental health issues. Most aren't debilitating, but art is a real cathartic experience, as we all know, and it's healing too. So we found a really beautiful sort of balance in terms of how we could work together, and we understood purpose and had a similar drive to do it. With that in mind, I've also been working on a project called Evolutionary Music Cooperative, which is evmc.ca. You guys have the URL.
Yep, she'll probably that's probably coming up now.
And I founded that a number of years ago, in order to try to create a new paradigm for music, because I got sick of seeing and experiencing and hearing about so many great musicians and pieces of creations not getting proper promotion, opportunity for sale, and not giving the opportunity to the artists to actually create careers. Because technically all you need is 1,000, if it's to sell 1,000 records, that's $20 per record to make 20 grand. And all you need is 1,000 fans spending $100 a year to make 100 grand. So it's not difficult if you have a team to actually do that, because 1,000 people isn't that many. And especially if you have a system. So what we've been working on is setting up a system using a cooperative framework in order where the artists own the label as well.
Yeah,
I've heard that, and it's a very interesting system, because I think the direction of the artist is a little because of media, and the behind the scenes aspect is not as well enforced. It's like, come to us so we can do for you, not here's what you can do for yourself.
Yeah, right.
Or we'll take 90% and we'll let you record in our.
It's
studio,
always a business deal with major labels, and people are sucked into thinking that they need to actually be stars and on the radio to actually make a living or to be successful.
Which is,
and it's not.
Can I interrupt for one second? Was it last? No, it would have been 2 years ago. I seen Machine Head, and up until I seen them live, I didn't know they've never had radio play. Yeah. They've never been this or that. The fucking show was sold out. They had no opening band. They played for 3 hours straight, and I've been a huge fan of them for so long. But like you said, I didn't know they've never been on the radio.
You don't have to be on the radio.
I'm a huge
you don't have to have
videos
on much music.
You know what I mean? Like, it makes me wonder, how did I find their music? Just even start with.
Right. It found you, right? And that's what happens when you have a system that you can you understand where people who like a certain genre go to, then you make sure your music is available there and you give it out for free to begin with, and you try to build a fan base and try to find true fans. And then that's the key, to find true fans of the music. But it's got to be quality music, obviously.
Yeah.
You have to have high quality, great music that's passionate, that's got all the elements that make people love it. And then it's just a matter of having a team to actually put it into practice and make the system work.
Finding the right people to, like, somehow you guys found each other, and then somehow
it's really weird.
Right? Here we are together now.
Right? The way I found this studio was I looked on the internet. That's how Music Studio Production Toronto, and 3 different studios popped up, and I talked to 3 different owners, and then Bryant's cooperative idea that the future of music is in a cooperative situation, and that he knew some of the top performers in the city, because they're all sitting at home waiting to perform, and they're not on tour. So if you call them and it's a charity, they will roll in a track because it's for a charity, a good reason. So I thought, my goodness, let's try Bryant's studio. And then so we got 3 of the BirdSong performers, Robin Benedict, Ashley Bell, and Stacia. 3 of them came in and recorded here, and their songs are, I like to think they're way above average. They're different genres. From folky to we've got a hip hop artist coming in. We have all kinds of different music. And
I can say that is definitely, like, there was the one girl sounds like Janis Joplin, like that old that not whine and twang. I guess
it's a modern.
We've got Janis Joplin.
Right away,
she thinks she's a
hip-hop artist.
She told me she is Janis Joplin's reincarnation. So
no, right?
We do have Janis Joplin.
Yeah. So.
But anyway, so back to Bryant. So that's why we're here together. And Toronto is full of these amazing people, musicians. So this is a good place to produce music. I'm telling you, T.O.
And
go ahead. No, you go ahead. I will remember to say this. So you go ahead, Beth.
So basically, we found a balance, found some harmony in our intentions, and decided. But the whole idea with the co-op is to build it. Right now we're in the stages of finishing our taxes and getting our business plan complete by the end of the month, so we can start to go for funding. Last summer we were granted 5 Canada Summer Job students, so we could actually get to this point.
Almost like
interns. And so now, and so we applied for 4 more for starting in May, and we're going to hit the ground running. We've got a lot in plan.
Yeah, your feet are already going. You're already on.
And we've got looking for someone for a position in your.
Yeah, we're looking.
I'm
looking for a studio assistant.
Put your
as well as
job out there.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to email you guys the details of the actual.
Okay.
People were looking for.
Cheesy plug. This is like kind of one of the opportunities I have been looking for, in the sense of what you're discussing and what is happening. I wish I had been backstage for more, but I was kind of literally in the process of doing what you're talking about. So it's awesome.
Let's do it together. We're stronger together.
Dave, you have the right move.
I have family in Toronto that I got to visit soon. So we'll definitely coordinate. Okay, so you do this for what sounds like the right reasons, which is great. It's inspirational. I'm here so there's a way that I could do this even better. So I'm just kind of listening to everything that you're saying and trying to, pick up pointers as to what I can do to better help those that I work with. And I mean, it's very commendable that you're doing this for that reason, to call attention to the mental health and to help people deal with their mental health, because there's a lot of people who, especially the people who are coming or survivors of war, they have a lot of psychological traumas they have to deal with and overcome. So
PTSD. Being from a war family, I'm literally one of the only kids that wasn't put into the military. Wow. Like my papa, my dad, my uncle, my cousins, even my nephew, my cousin's boy's in Japan right now. Not that he's seen action, but he's still in that military life. Yes. My niece just did air cadets all the way her whole life, and now she just got shipped out to Alberta with the Air Force. She's trying to get on with the fucking snowbirds. You know what I mean?
It's an opportunity to do
No.
but for some people it really works out. Yeah. It's when you call into action and you actually suffer PTSD, which
I was never allowed.
Killed,
my family never let me go.
Or having friends being killed. That's tough. But no, war is hell, and hopefully we'll find a way of avoiding war in the future, because we spend way too much money on war, especially America, and but there's a lot of wasted potential because of War Machine.
And even look at the artists that could have came out that went overseas and never came back and never got to write that song, never got to write that album, you know. But that gives us our freedoms today to do what we're doing.
Yeah, and I believe that, like the roaring, remember the roaring 40s after World War I, and then it was like the incredible music expansion after World War II, right? The jazz, all of that. Well, I believe what we're having is a bit of a world war right now. It's a different kind of world war. What we're going to have is the most incredible 30s are going to come back. We're in 2021, but by, in the next, it'll take another couple of years, I think, to just calm it all down. And then, listen to the new music. It's all in the music. It's going to be unbelievable. Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah, people are pretty excited. We'll be really, I think people, when this whole thing is blown over, will really want to just get out and have life again, experience life in a way that they haven't been able to. And that's what happens, and so there's a blossoming of creativity and new ideas, and hopefully the good ones will take root and help change the paradigm, because we need more attention to all those who do suffer because of the system the way it is now.
Yes.
And let's give opportunities to the great art out there, great people, people who don't get
recognized for their contribution.
Can you talk about the types of music that BirdSong is recording, like from hip hop to, and then maybe your experience with heavy metal? Because here's a lot of heavy metal show. So let's do some heavy metal conversation.
Well, my friend
we're perking them up now. Our audience is coming back. That's okay.
Well, we just for New Year's Eve we did a live and alive 18 band performance of pre-recorded artists that were independent artists in the city that we recorded down here in my studio. We've got a performance space at the back. And Long McQuaid, none of us is gear, so we had a multi-track digital board so we could record a multi-track and mix it afterwards, multi-camera shoots. So it looked really good. And a couple of the bands, the last couple of bands were metal bands, Smile and and Snake Oil Salesman. And my friend Mike Carboni, he's a brilliant guitarist. And he put a band together, and as well as Snake Oil Salesman and then these guys are young.
We were laughing about that earlier. Right.
And they're the neighborhood band. Two of them are brothers, and the two brothers are sons of a client of mine of 30 years. And when the youngest one, the mom was pregnant with him when we were recording back in the day. And now his this kid who comes in and plays every instrument and he records his drums.
Still part of the same cycle.
Yeah, it's just continuing after his dad. Yeah, and the brothers are all playing.
On the same end, I got to give a shout out to David's magazine.
Oh, Culture Shock. I'm actually getting culture shocked right now because there's a whole lot that's happening where it comes to just the musical culture and just the way the relationship has developed and the different genres and your intentions. It's a magazine that really brings highlight to the unheard in the scene or the unseen in the scene. So, this is the kind of story that's major news media, and I'm happy to have come to this information through TJ, you know what I mean? Because, it's good to know there's, again, groups like this out there that are working towards a common goal of just using music for the greater good. And I'm compelled to do more. As you see me looking down, I'm kind of responding to a couple of things that are happening. I was just working on a video. It's just like, how much more can I do for society now that I've spoken to the BirdSong Foundation? You know, like it's almost like a call.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I wanted to bring it back to what we were talking about a little earlier, and the integrity of mental health. I've heard the saying that it's easier to build a strong child than it is to fix a broken adult. So how do we build our youth's mental health so that they can get through some of these things that they probably wouldn't have gone through, or like shouldn't have gone through, definitely, and like, or even before they get to them, how do they look at warning signs kind of thing? Like, children experience trauma on a daily basis, and it's different scenarios. Some of it's like physical abuse, some of it's like just experiencing or witnessing, like witnessing something, you know what I mean, traumatic, like a car accident or what have you. So, like, what do we do in those kinds of scenarios? Or what would you suggest? Go ahead. Come again?
Who's starting to answer the question first? I'll start with BirdSong and then pass it over to you and then over to you, and I'll be brief. It's really simple. It's about love. It's all about love. And love is the healing, the elixir in our lives. Love transforms. How do you do that? You find love in the wilderness. You find healing in the wilderness. You have a child that has difficulty dealing with a complex society like the one we've got. Get them into the wilderness any way you can, through sports, through always have, magazines of birds and animals. Show them animals. Show them the beauty of the universe. Show them music. Start to play music. Start all kinds of music. Don't be music yet. They're young. Go
no heavy
classical.
Metal right away.
Classical. Start classical. Start jazz. Start developing the music. Indian music. Music, they're not like different genres from around the world. The new music is from around the world. Music from Nigeria. Music from Australia. From everywhere. You just feed them with music in the wilderness. Their heart will open. And just tell them you love them every single day, 5 days a week, to develop. Here's the piece that's missing: self-love. Okay, I know this for a fact. I tried to develop my son. That was ultimately, I tried everything. At the end of the day, it was a stigma of the society, and he forgot self-love. He knew self-love. You forget, you get lost in the maze. That's an answer from BirdSong Foundation.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, from my perspective, I have two sons, and the older one is gay, and he's attempted suicide when he was 16. He's 18 now. He's gone through mental health problems over a number of years, and right now he's in therapy. I've been taking him to therapy for a number of years, and love, once again, as Maggie said, is the main thing. Knowing that they have someone who they can be honest with, who they can rely on. And it saved him, and it can save others. I mean, and then therapy, and then some sort of process to love themselves, and to change old patterns, like getting off of social media. I remember
that is a huge thing, especially, not to interrupt, the endorphins that are released. It's no different than doing drugs, drinking alcohol, this is whether you jump off a cliff with a parachute.
Yeah.
It's those endorphins that are released. It's scientific, been shown. Probably say that wrong, but that the same endorphins are when you click on Facebook and you see someone like your photo. You see someone love this, or they commented on that. It becomes an addiction.
It's major. I remember. I'll tell you a story. When my son was 11, 12, he was painting, and he was playing piano. I was trading studio time with a fantastic organ player named John T. Davis. JohnTDavis.music.ca. If you want to hear his music, JohnTDavismusic.ca. And John T. is a legendary musician in the city. He's from the States, and he came up here in the 70s, and he established the Rex Hotel as a jazz venue back in the 80s.
I know that hotel.
So he had an internship there for a few years, and basically him and Jim Heineman established it as a place for jazz, and ever since then it has been. And but anyway, my son got a cell phone, and then from that point on, basically stopped painting, stopped practicing piano, gave up the lessons, and became immersed in this world. When we stay in his room, you know, whenever he got home, he'd just be on the phone, and you know, communication was completely changed in the house, and then, as I said, you know, a number of years later, he attempted suicide. He was cutting and stuff, and since then we've been in therapy, you know, dialectic behavior therapy, and other types of therapy, and it's a process. But once again, love.
Maybe we should talk about Amanda, the song. Robin Benedict wrote a song. It will be on the first album called Amanda. And Amanda was a girl who killed herself due to cyberbullying. And because she did exactly that she got her feed from who liked her and who didn't like her, because unfortunately, when you're a young woman of 13, 14, that's what you do. And it's not your fault, because you want to be liked by everybody, because you don't have self-esteem that's, you know, strong enough. And she ended her life. And Robin wrote a song for the family. We're going to give it to the family when we put the album out. But it's an incredible song. I'd love you to hear it. Maybe we'll play it before we leave.
Yeah, and yeah, that's reminds me of something that I should say, which is for men, we should teach our boys to respect women, right, and to respect our sisters and our mothers. You know, and this is really important because with porn and everything, it's so easy to see.
Really, they like to be choked. They like to
exactly images and representations of girls and women that aren't real and that girls don't want. But this is, you know, what ends up being the thing that guys think is a turn on, and it becomes a dystopia of normal, and it makes relationships difficult, and it makes male-female communication and relationships really awkward, because all of a sudden you got these expectations and these real extreme examples of what people think the other one wants, and it's based on, you know, industry that's so accessible, but fantasy and you know, and it's really important to remember.
Well, I was gonna say David's a father of a daughter. And like, how do you deal with that, bud? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
honestly,
nowadays,
it's very complicated. I feel like a hypocrite most days, because there's things that I do that I tell her not to do, but there's things that she goes through that I won't ever experience. You know what I mean? There's like, she's 11 next week. Sorry. She's 11 next week, so she's coming close to that time where she's going to want to, say, go over to her friend's house. And, I mean, that's hard enough aside from the pandemic, and that's just around the corner, you know what I mean? Like, I have to, as they say, loosen the reins, so to speak. And there's nothing... but I guess my way of dealing with it is making sure that there's nothing that I have that she doesn't within reason. Like, I treat her as a functional member of the household, based on her capacity to illustrate sense. So, literally, actually, the only thing that we have that she doesn't is a car. But she doesn't need one yet because she can't drive. You know what I mean? Like, everything down to...
If she had one, you'd be a responsible father.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Down to her cell phone. She has a cell phone right now, and like, that's for when she goes out. Like, so we can establish that line of communication. And I think if we teach children how to use technology early for the proper reasons, then we can avoid some of the misrepresentation in general, like misrepresentation of, say, colored men in being responsible for gangs and drugs and all of that, or something like that, or, you know what I mean, like gay men being flamboyant all the time kind of thing, you know what I mean? Like, there are people who you wouldn't know if they didn't say anything. So, like, there's a lot that happens and I have to look at how is this going to affect my daughter. You know what I mean? Like that, and that's why my conduct, even towards her mother or my wife, is respectful. Like we joke around, we play around, but I show her. I try to, anyways, show her how a man should treat a woman, in turn hoping that she looks for an even higher standard, but an achievable standard of how she should be treated. And I hope she heard that, because I'm talking pretty loud right now.
Setting a good example is key, always, you know, for our children.
Lead through example.
Yeah, and then making sure that they see that they don't see behaving in ways that we're telling them not to. Because then, I mean, like you said before, you feel like a hypocrite sometimes, and it's true. As parents, we're not perfect, and there's no real course that we take, or there's no school for parenting, which I think there probably should be, definitely. And then I think parenting is such a responsibility. It's the hardest job in the world, and yet it's like the politicians don't have to go through courses in ethics and geopolitics and whatnot. No. They should have courses for all the most important things that are done in the world.
Just keeping a checkbook, managing your bank account, on your budget,
life
what
skills.
You make.
Yeah.
But you know, we're talking also. You're talking about like it's called substance use disorder. That's the term that we actually have been successful against the Royal Ottawa Hospital. You know, they call it drug addicts. You know, alcoholics. You know, it's like the wrong words. And substance use disorder can be cell phone use disorder, right?
Yeah.
So substance use, fill in the blank what the substance is. It's like a love addiction. That's substance use, right? And our society, because of the way it is, we're plagued with this types of disorders that we all hide, right? So at some point, the society needs to have these conversations, you know? And why not write music about this stuff? Get it into like
mainstream
pop culture. Like the center of society is culture, always. Every society. This is the center, the seed, right?
Kind of noticed, not to interrupt, but kind of noticed over the years, whether it's been the metal genre, or say you're into rap or R&B or your country, you always feel your group is isolated. Always subjected to this hatred. Like especially me being fucking like deathcore, heavy metal. It's kill your mother music. You must hate life. Why do you hate the world? I'm like, do you even listen to what they're saying? All you hear is this shredded breath. That's amazing, but that's all you hear, man. It's no different than me, say, putting on an Ice Cube album and actually listening to what Ice Cube's saying while he's doing. All I hear is the beat, boom, 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 one beat, boom, boom, boom. But that's not what it's about. Yeah, right.
If you listen to the stories, there's always something deeper there, and you know that's one thing about music. You really have to listen to it to appreciate whatever it is. And me growing up, I grew up in Scarborough. Listening to everything from progressive rock to Stevie Wonder to Motown.
Whereabouts in Scarborough, if you don't mind me asking?
Melbourne. I went to Lethbridge Person and West Hill. I was there when Lethbridge Person was built. I was the first school president there. Well, actually, the second because I took over. No, that's Lethbridge Person in Melbourne.
Okay. I was over in I was like on the other side of town. There we go. You're in Scarborough and you had to pop in.
Well, since we're all
that dog, by the way, is my dog.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I'll get him in later.
I'll bring you another beer.
I'll grab one. I'm gonna slip out. Let you guys continue. I'll be right back.
Okay. He's going to refresh himself.
Yeah. Refresh.
All right.
Hold on a second. He has a question, but one more time.
For what?
He just muted himself.
I said most of my aunts and uncles actually went to Malvern, and I was born in Birch Mountain Finch.
All right.
And raised there, so I just had to say something. Scarborough's my old kick grounds, you know what I mean? Like,
I saw you pop in. I'm like, well, Scarborough talks.
Yeah, just so you guys know, I was born in London, England. So my parents were Dominican. They moved to England in the 60s, and I was born there. And I came to Canada when I was 9. and then moved first to Jane and Finch, then moved to Scarborough, and so I lived in Scarborough for my teenage years, and then as soon as I could, I got out of Scarborough downtown.
I was born and raised in Scarborough, Upper Beaches, like Kingston Road, Warden area, Birch Mountain, Finch. I spent some time over at Dufferin and St. Clair, you know, that kind of area and whatnot.
That's where I am now. I'm living down on Ossington and Bloor.
Yeah, I also lived over by Mack Avenue, over by Danforth and Danforth.
Okay,
which is not a fun area. But no, it's amazing how much the small world is.
Yeah, it's a small town too.
It's a small world after all.
Well, after
it's all good though. It's all good, guys.
I was 26 when we left Toronto with my kids. We up and figured it was enough, and we moved up north to a small town of 400.
What was that?
A little town called Ayton, Ontario.
Ayton, where's Ayton?
Ayton is up by Walkerton. If you remember the big water scandal, up in that area. And we lived up there for. It was gorgeous, but you know, work dried up, so I moved to Niagara Falls. With my oldest was going to school here and whatnot, so we moved to here.
Oh, okay.
And been here for the last 11 years now, almost.
Isn't there Crystal Beach area?
Nope. I'm actually a 20-minute walk right from the falls.
No way! Wow, beautiful. Yeah. So I'm not sure if Ken Stour is he manages the station CIUT. But Ken, there's a guy named Ken Stour. He manages CIUT. I'm not sure if you know that station. It's the University of Toronto station.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a story about how his they have 89 DJs or so, and when COVID started, they couldn't all go to the station, of course. So he had to set within a month and a half, all of them up to be able to do their shows from home. And so he was working like crazy, almost 18 hours a day for the first couple months. But since things have been, then things he got some time, and it was his partner and him wasn't working, and they ended up going to Niagara Falls. And one day, there was the beginning of COVID. There was a lockdown everywhere, and there were only 4 people at the falls, and they could park right next to it. And it's like it's surreal because some of these places that are always packed. It's
been a godsend, but scary godsend. Like come summertime, I don't go down to the falls at all.
Of course,
that's tourist area. That's not where I want to be. It's like me going downtown Toronto in the middle of rush hour. That's somewhere I don't want to be.
But these days it's probably super quiet there, right?
Yeah. So it's I don't know. It's just I just felt the connection with Scarborough because that's my really old stomping grounds, and there's great musicians and artists that have come out of that area alone.
No, that's where I learned to play bass.
So I have a message for anyone that's still watching our show, and that is that we'd love for you to apply to our newsletter. We put out blogs twice a month, and sometimes it's a TED Talk, sometimes it's something really thought out, or it's a profile on someone that actually writes their story about their mental health struggles and trials and tribulations, right? It's not all negative necessarily. And we're here to connect people. So, we're connecting with Evolutionary Music Fund and all the musicians that are part of that, and BirdSong and all the musicians that are part of that. And through that whole process, we can heal. So BirdSongFoundation.com is where, you can get online and join our newsletter and send us your thoughts. And we would love to help you get your music published and produced so you can keep it and make a living, maybe not. I don't know. There's no promises in life, right? At all. True. There's zero, like no sales. Yeah. I'm not a sales, snake oil salesman, right? We're hoping this much promise, right? Yeah. But we're hoping, and the one thing I do know is that authentic. It's like a higher vibration. It's almost like, all the social media, all that out there, but like just shut it off and just hear yourself. Like what are you saying to yourself? maybe, you know, grab a pen and write that stuff that's so authentic to you, a higher vibration. I believe that that is out there, and that's called new music, right? We're living through a time that it's always a new time. It doesn't matter what second you're living through. And that's a profound statement. But this is, you know, every 100 years pandemic, you know, same old story. But yet somehow, yeah, the new music is being cooked up right now.
And one thing about that, I'll pick up on what Maggie was saying, is that we're really encouraging people to dig deep and to tell stories that are honest and that touch the soul of the listeners. Because when you make some people feel something, that's when you can really get to another level in terms of getting things.
Sorry to interrupt, but I'm just going through some of the chat comments across the 13 different channels we have. If Taco Manic would like to, if she's still watching or if he's still watching, if they want to put the question in so we can ask it, this is their comment that they put up. And then let's see, the Canadian Performing Arts Academy had this about when you were talking about love helps and can help grow everything. There is their comment right there. Then we have a Lizelle, I believe it's pronounced, and she says this is a wonderful topic, and thank you for doing this subject. We all need to help each other. And then we have a Thomas Robert, I believe it is, and I'm showing these for you guys so you guys can see actively what's going on as we're talking.
The text, but
this is what he's saying is, hello friends, been listening and enjoying the conversation. Thank you for the heads up. That's so wonderful. If anybody has a question, I'm going to watch, or if I can get David to watch it, the chat, so we can get these questions popped in. And because I hate ignoring people that have questions.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
And you know, we need the questions for the answers to make the conversation.
Yeah, and
but somehow in the boneyard. This is great, actually. This is like the next step. This is one of the steps.
I know. One thing I wanted to say is one of my favorite sayings for the last couple of years has been, none of us is as smart as all of us. So we really need each other. We really need a team to do things.
We're better together than the sum of our parts.
None of us is as smart as all of us. No. And when we work together, we can fulfill all sorts of, we can achieve all sorts of things that we could never achieve together, or apart rather.
You can dream individually or build together.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're echoes.
I just come up with that.
Nothing's impossible, right? So, yeah, that's part of the whole reason for evolutionary music as well, because we know that it takes a team to actually fulfill all the things that are necessary for an artist to be successful and to sell product and to be able to do a tour and to be able to have understand contracts and to be able to learn how to perform on stage properly, to understand gear, to understand, you make sure they understand pitch, and they
understand how to listen.
Kind of like all the aspects that it takes to become a professional. I mean,
you touched on that earlier.
We try to think of ourselves as a modern 21st century Motown, and what Motown did.
I have a question that's here from the people. I'm sorry to cut you off, but if we don't, I don't want to lose these people that are watching us and are involved with us. Why is there such a stigma for people who use cannabis for their depression?
It's a lack of education. Ignorance breeds contempt. It's always been like that historically. And we're in a society where there's judgment around and a misunderstanding. And it's called people that don't sometimes trying to talk to someone and you're trying to show your point of view, and you know that their ears are like this, you don't even get a chance because they're not teachable. So you're dealing with a society that is ignorant, that has been told not to be teachable, right? Like, convince me, that I'm wrong, and I might get my feelings hurt, but I hear you. But some people, they get angry, right? They get angry. So why is there such a stigma for people who use cannabis? Because there is. And unfortunately, that's not going to change until, these conversations are out there, that the person who asked that question, just reaches out and starts to write a blog. We'll publish it on BirdSong Foundation.
Yeah, but
okay. We start to get that story out, because that's how we change society, is through media that's positive, right?
But it's also about the fact. Well, the fact is, the cannabis is becoming more commonly used as antidepressant, and it's becoming more accepted too, because obviously cannabis is legal now. So that's a big part of it, and doctors have been prescribing it, and they're also looking into psilocybin, right?
That's a big advocate. I've been fighting behind the scenes for that.
To help people with addiction issues. So these things are becoming more talked about, discussed. I think sharing articles, with articles from professionals who've done research, and when you see something that's written by somebody who is legitimate, then that can help people change their lives.
A medical doctor, if you see an article that's actually positive, put it on your social media. Exactly. You spread the word, and ultimately
educate people.
And don't be afraid of being of a door slammed in your face. That's called courage, right? It takes so much courage to live with mental health issues. Every day is a different kind of a day than other people have, and that's okay, and just know you're not alone, and I'm sorry you're dealing with this bullshit, actually.
Yeah, me too.
I'm sorry.
This is what Lizelle said back. Thank you, Margaret. Love you, miss you.
There you go.
Okay, now carrying on this stigma of marijuana. Okay, and my daughter deals with it regularly because she is a, as you'd call it, a pot mom. This is the term that people like to use. And her argument back is it's not okay for me to smoke my marijuana at the end of the day after my kids go to bed, but it's okay for you to finish that half a bottle of wine while eating dinner.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
everyone has their relaxation.
People need to do their history on the actual banning of marijuana.
Yeah.
If you date it back and you look at it,
alcohol,
it comes
tobacco,
back to immigration, and it had to do with the Mexicans out of the U.S. How do we get rid of them? Well, we make it illegal for them to grow it. They have to have a permit first, but in order to have their permit, they have to grow it first. So they would bring their supply and say, hey, we grew all this, deported. Poof. You grew it without a fucking permit.
And they even made up the word marijuana.
Exactly. It wasn't even never called that. And then you have your reefer madness shit back in the 30s, early 40s, right?
But the alcohol companies didn't want marijuana because people didn't drink as much. And
you can't tax something you can grow in your backyard, like tomatoes.
But the
I
irony,
can grow corn. I can grow weed in my backyard.
But the irony is,
grow booze.
hemp is the most versatile plant on the planet. It can be used for oils. It can be used for clothes,
fabric,
rope.
Yeah.
It can be used for build houses. It can be used for it is truly the most versatile plant on Earth, and it was put here for our use. And the fact that you can smoke some and makes you feel better, that's actually a bonus. So this is something. If God gave it to us, how could it be bad? I mean, things that we make, like alcohol and aspirin and all sorts of other man-made substances are far worse for us over the long term.
But it's also like substance use disorder. It's a mental health issue for some people, not for all people, and it's almost like you can't we're all different. We're all snowflakes, right? So, I believe the old gurus that say that, part of life is the ecstatic life, is ecstasy and ecstatic, right? We can't live our lives with four walls around us. There's a young man writing a song called Four Walls right now for BirdSong Foundation, and he struggles with terrible depression and anxiety because that's what it is. There's no ecstatic. So marijuana for some people gives them just the ability to just feel a little bit of just like it has this higher kind of vibration,
It can disconnect you from
and so it's you know, if it's a glass of wine or if it's marijuana, but when you're talking about substance use disorder, you're talking about a whole other ball game.
This
there,
is where my argument comes in.
Yeah.
As long as you still go to work, you still take care of your family.
Absolutely.
I don't care literally if you want to shoot a little bit of heroin. As a personal, I don't care what you do.
We all self-medicate.
You know what I mean? Right? You're going to self-medicate, whether it's alcohol, whether it's fucking gambling, whether it could be anything. It could be Tylenol, gravel. I know people that used to just eat gravel by the ton. You know what I mean? Like.
Okay, if I remember correctly in the pre-talk, you guys run a magazine as well.
Is that correct?
We are going to, when we launch the album in the fall, we would have launched it probably within the next few months, but because of the pandemic, it'll be our first fundraiser. So probably in September, October, we're going to launch the album. And with that, we will have a little magazine that comes out that describes every performer and why they, you know, what their issues are and what their solution is for helping the world, and what their lyrics mean and what message of love they're bringing to the universe. And so eventually a BirdSong magazine, like an ongoing, you know, we have blogs right now and articles that we publish, but eventually once, if we do get the funding, we'll let it kind of, the mantra of the organization is slow and steady, right? You create your 5-year plan, but you just kind of evolve into what you're supposed to become. So right now music production is what we're doing. And then we're going to have to figure out marketing and all of that stuff and launching and doing some live performance. Like I'd like to do a cross Canada BirdSong tour with some of our performers. And, you know, imagine that. Wouldn't that be fun? We start from Vancouver and go right across the country, get some sponsorship, and everybody on board. Let's go.
Hop on the bus.
Hop on the bus. Take the stigma out of mental health.
What's that, David?
We got a comment in the chat room again.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, sir. Just click on it.
Yeah, it's not okay for me to smoke a joint. But my oldest son, 8 years old, was just diagnosed with ADHD and was prescribed acetaminophen.
That's pathetic. That's pathetic.
Speed made by the government.
That's pathetic.
Like
and I believe my son died because of what they were speaking.
My son.
I'm sorry to hear that.
That's the thing, though. We don't. Like in our school systems and the way we have structured our kids, we're raising them to be factory workers. So 9 to 5, do this, do that. Kids don't do that. Kids want to eat dirt. They want to jump on that rope for 5 minutes and then go eat more dirt and then play up in that tree. And then, but we don't allow them to do that.
And play the drums.
We have to have English class at 9:30. We have to have mathematics at 10:30. We have to do gym at noon. You know what I mean?
The structure of school is especially wrong for boys. And it's counter to their natural tendencies, and I think that they don't learn as well as they should or they would if they were in active classes where they could actually do things and be involved.
We'll wrap it up.
We'll put on it.
Well, I would love to hear a couple of tunes if we can play something where we can hear it over the mic, because
a couple of BirdSong tunes for you right now. And it's pretty exciting. We just signed on. When I say signed on, like it sounds like a record label. We're not. Wouldn't that be nice? It's a record label for whoever's on the record label. We don't. You know, you own it. I don't. They give me permission to run the song one time. That's it. All rights are royalties too. We want people to sign up with so that they get they learn how to, do the music properly in terms of like where the government can help you, which they don't help you that much. You have to kind of help yourself, right?
No.
So we're figuring it out how to do it. The future of the music industry is not in record labels. It really is in cooperatives. It's in banding your team together and owning your copyright and in figuring out how to market music. It's a whole other way of marketing now. 100%. And there's people that are figuring it out and charging you too much, so we'll figure it out on our own. And so having said all of those things, my son walks with me every day of my life, and I have days where I'm so sad, I really miss him. He really was my best friend, you know, and we were very similar. He couldn't do school at all because of his ADHD, and he ended up going to India with me. You know, we ended up in Tibet when the Chinese opened the borders. We were adventurers, and I was a photographer at that point. And I mean, I just miss him so much. And I see him everywhere in my mind's eye with the guitar. He dragged his guitar everywhere, anywhere he traveled. He had a sitar after we left India. You know, he had a sitar and a guitar. And at one point he said, "Mom, I lost my sitar. I don't know where it is, you know." So it's up there in the sky with him somewhere. And he's guiding this whole process, because I have met like the most beautiful souls so far. I don't know. I do believe in a higher kind of constellation structure. I believe we're made of stars. You know, we're made of comets. We are like we're part of this universe, and music is so intricate to what we do. It's our communication. Birdsong is our communication for compassion and change in the society. And Brian's ready to roll here. I love to
Okay,
talk,
guys,
so
I just want to say one thing. It was a pleasure to talk to both of you and hear both your stories. It was, you know, it's always nice to talk to other people, or, you know, be able to share similar experiences or backgrounds, even though you may not know somebody. It helps yourself therapeutically and everybody else. So I thank you for the conversation. I'm going to bow out, let you guys do your thing.
Hey,
So
Jason,
you can
Welcome, yeah.
for once again jumping in on such short notice and helping
Thank
us
you,
out as far
Jason.
as bringing everybody to the table, not just myself sitting here with these phenomenal guests that we have, right? So
Thank you.
I can't give our guys, Jason and David and even Amanda, enough shout outs for all the work that you guys do
thank
behind the
you.
scenes for us. So
We appreciate you.
Thank
Yes,
you.
definitely. It's
can
been
you
a
hear us
good
all
ride,
right,
you know
David?
what I mean?
Oh, he might be busy.
Right, yeah. All right. So I have one question before I go.
Yep.
What kind of speakers are those? Because they look pretty heavy. They look pretty heavy.
Oh, my JBL 411s, 4411s.
Okay, okay.
They're from the 80s.
Oh wow, vintage.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
I've got some other JBLs up top, but I use these with a sub, and they sound badass.
Yeah, the eyes on that.
Oh, man. I would one day like to hear those in person.
Yeah, I hope you do. I hope you come down to the studio. You're always welcome.
We'll make you
All right,
a trip.
if you're ever Niagara ways, feel free to stop by. You know what I mean? I'm in Welland.
Right,
so
Welland,
I
okay.
often call Welland the Radiator Springs of Niagara.
Wicked.
Yeah.
We do make our way there once in a while. I've got a motorcycle, so I'd like to go on rides and get out to that part of the country. I think province.
Nice. Awesome. Awesome. Okay, so without further ado, let's hear some music from you. I'm going to bow too. I'll be in the background behind the scenes after.
Perfect. Thank you so much, David.
No problem.
This is Robin Benedict from Hamilton. Robin, about Amanda.
Jay's gonna let us know what's up.
Soon you'll be 14, heading off to high school. Life is full of mystery.
Oh, thank you guys so much.
Pleasure,
man. Really appreciate that.
Us too.
That's been awesome. Thank you so much. I look forward to doing more work and stuff. Perfect, perfect voice. So this will be a little bit of behind the scenes where they can't hear us. This is on
The story about the
This is that Amanda song.
Amanda song.
Oh, wow.
This is for Amanda.
It's the upright bass.
Oh, that's you.
Yeah.
On the cello.
Yeah, the upright bass.
Oh, yeah.
Already changing high school. Now it's full of mystery. And that stranger showed down your picture. Kids can be so mean, but it's not enough to age your life. So much you never see. Locked up in your room, always crying. I wish I could have told you that it's not.
Are we still on air?
Yeah. Until the song's over and then we'll pause. And then we're off. We can whatever. No fun. Yes or no? Just run him
Hi, I'm Robin. I remember the feeling of wanting to die when my friends turned on me. I remember the fear of going to school like it was yesterday. Now I'm 40, and I'm here to tell you my story. Because a voice inside my soul said don't. Now when I look up to the sky, and thank the stars that I'm alive. And have a chance to sparkle before I die.
I need to take that moment back. You're beautiful, much too young to die. The thought is so lonely. Some shiver down the
That's all right.